camaraderie. How do I say that word? Comradeship.
Camaraderie?
Where's the shit come into that?
Why is there some reluctance to talk specifically about women in comedy?
For me, I don't want to be seen as someone having a whinge when there's no reason to have a whinge. I call myself a comedian. I don't need to specify that I'm a female comedian or a woman comedian. That's fairly evident. Male comics don't go, I'm a male comedian. I'm a middle class white male comedian. I don't need to do that.
What do you think are some of the biggest obstacles for women getting into comedy?
You have to join the men's club. Like, I'm okay with it now because I've got friends and I consider myself to be, one of the guys kind of thing, on the most part. There's open mic rooms where you'll walk to where all the other comics are hanging out, and it's like all the guys know each other. There's a big group of guys, and often if you're a female open micer, it's your first night and you rock up, and there's just all these blokes just going, hey, hey, and hanging shit on each other, and then it's you just, standing there going, oh, and you're terrified, A, because it's probably your first gig, and B, you've got to deal with all these blokes being blokes. It's like walking out the back of a footy club change room, and it's another world, and you've got to deal with that. And you'll often get male comics that will make an effort, and that's what the comedy world needs, is the guys to look around the room and realise that there is another female in the room, and they're probably not someone's girlfriend, and they should probably be, just make attempts to involve them in stuff. So I was very fortunate that when I started, I had male comedian friends.
Do you think women tend to be welcoming of other females in comedy?
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, no. I think once you find another female friend in comedy, you're drawn to them. Some of my best friends are female comedians, so, and we often do a lot of work together and we help each other out a lot. But I only help out people that I like, though. Yeah. There are plenty of female comedians out there that I'm like, I'm okay if you stop doing comedy. But there's also plenty of male comedians that I'm like, I'm very okay if you guys stop being in this world. So
being in the world in general.
No, just being in the world of comedy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be nasty to anybody and think bad things about them. But if they, if they decided they wanted to find another career, it's probably good for everybody.
What are some hurdles that you faced?
I've had some pretty horrendous gigs in terms of, and they've been horrendous because I've been female.
Just because of that?
Pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A gig in Sydney, it was on Anzac Day, in the morning at 8 o'clock, and it was at an RSL, like an hour out of Sydney. The promoter had seen me on YouTube maybe, and he was like, oh yeah, we like her. So I was booked to do this gig. I got there and the room was packed, and I'm like, okay. So there was about 500 people there. It was quite big. But they'd all been drinking since 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was like, okay, well, they've been drinking and there's lots of people, this might be okay. It was mostly men in the room. But the MC gets up and he introduces me, and before he introduces me though, he's doing a bit of banter with the audience. And the audience is, mind you, is about 10 metres away. Like, they're just too far away. He starts talking to a table, and there was one girl at the table, sitting at the table with all these guys, and the MC's like, oh, how you going, lady? And she's like, oh yeah. She goes, oh. And he's like, oh, you must be having a good time, you've got all your fellas around you. And then his introduction to me was, anyway, I've been doing this for a number of years now, and never had you introduce a lady before, but here we go, Geraldine Hickey. So no mention of who I was, where I'd come from. There was no, you might have seen her on this, she's come all the way from Melbourne. It's just, oh, he's a fucking lady. What the fuck's going on here, fellas? And brings me on to that. I do my first joke and it dies. By the time I went, okay, they didn't like that. Oh, they'll like this one. Oh, no, they didn't like that. And then by the third joke, half the audience, along with my ability to do stand-up, just fucks off. I'm booked for like 30 minutes, maybe, I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, this is going to be a long... I think I didn't do 30 minutes. I think I got to 20 maybe. But the worst was afterwards. They'd organised transport to the airport because I was flying out. Thank goodness. But that wasn't coming to pick me up for another 2 hours, so I had to stay at that RSL. There was nowhere else to go. I had to stay in that RSL and avoid eye contact with everyone for 2 hours. I was judged on being a woman. You know, it's that, oh, women aren't funny.